Well, good evening. Welcome back to the Jordan Oberg Show. I'm, of course, your host, Jordan Oberg, and today's a little bit of a different one, as you could tell by the title, I'm sure. Um, Last week we worked on Job in the Bible, and I'm actually still going through that, and we're still going to go over Job next week. I kind of wanted to fill this little gap this week. We're actually not going to go over Job at all. Um, Something else kind of hit my heart recently, so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Um, Usually, in case you guys don't know how I kind of run the show, what I do is I normally pick a topic that I'm about to talk about or speak about. And then I would normally work through that by, you know, thinking about it, reading scripture on it. I'd write it down. That's a big one. And I kind of form it into a Google Doc of how I want to say it, bullet points, a lot of bullet points, and stuff like that. A lot of what I say, too, is kind of on the fly. All I need is the bullet point to remember the main point, and then I can kind of go around it with what I have to say. And that's very similar with today, except for usually I rehearse it, usually I go over it, and then I'll speak it to make sure it sounds clear, that I get the right or correct meaning across and stuff like that. And tonight, I was laying in my bed just an hour ago. I had so many excuses not to do this tonight. Excuse me. It's currently Monday, and I know you guys will see this on Wednesday. Today was the first day back to school from break, and I think, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to release this instead. We'll continue Job next week, so if you guys are looking for Job, I'm sorry, but it will be there next week. I know I have quite a few, grown adults, in their 30s that kind of watch me. So, this one might not directly apply to your life, but I think it would be a good listen for sure. Like I said, normally I'll write it out and kind of go through it, go over it in my head, go over it, pretend like I'm actually speaking to the camera. That's a very big one as well. Tonight's a little bit different. I didn't go over this at all. Clicked record, and I'm looking at my bullet points right now. Going to try and stay on topic, but I think this is really important. So it's Monday. It is January 12th. It's currently 10:38 p.m. on Monday. Obviously, you guys are seeing this on Wednesday, around the 7 o'clock mark when this drops, or you could be watching way later. I don't really know. But school's back, right? So school's officially back from Christmas break. And you know what else is back is going out. My very first ever video I released, it was called This is Destroying College Students, and it was surrounded by the college experience, the college life, the party life, stuff like that. That's a very big thing in college, no matter where you go, really. So that was my very first ever podcast show, video, whatever you want to call it. That was my first ever big look at that. And, that was it wasn't at the beginning of the year, but it was early fall still. I was mid-fall. So early of the whole year. And, I've been thinking a lot about purpose the last few days going back into school. And I'll tell you why. You have a month and a half off of school in college. It's a great thing. You go to school August to December, mid-December. They let you off on break. You go to break. So, you literally don't do anything with school for about a month and a half, depending on where you go to school. I think Miami of Ohio is actually still out of school. They still have 2 more weeks, which is bizarre to me. But they, good for them. That's great. But you have all this time off, and then, you kind of get accustomed back to your home lifestyle for about a month and a half, like I said, and then you go back. Right? You go back to school. A little bit of transition anxiety for me today. Getting back into that groove. It sucks, but, you make it through. And so, you go through the transition anxiety, right? You're driving to school. You're getting ready to unpack all your stuff and blah, 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 blah. Got on campus today. It was a fine first day back. There's nothing wrong. I'm a junior. I've kind of already experienced it all. And, I think, bear with me, like I said, I didn't go over this. I'm kind of just going on the fly. And that's what I really like about today. This is going to be, raw footage. It's not going to be really edited or anything. I just kind of want to put this out there because I think it's really important. But, I got back on campus today, and I was filled with, like, this sense of, like, purpose. I got back on campus, and I'm like, this is about to be the exact same thing for another 4 more months, right? It's the same bars, it's the same lights, it's the same crowds of people, it's the same activities, it's the same alcohol, it's the same cigarettes, it's the same vapes, it's I don't know, the same complaining. Like, I know a lot of people who complain about, like, the person they're either A, that they're with, or two, that they're trying to get with, and they're so complaining of how confusing it is. And then you go like, well, where'd you meet him? Oh, it's school. How'd you meet him? Well, we go out at the same places. Okay. So, like, what do you guys do? Well, we drink and we vape, and we have a lot of common, a lot of things in common. And it's just like, what? Like, and then, like, people will go into detail of, like, like I said, like, they do the same things, right? You both go out the same place. Okay. Well, let's really break down the going out part, right? Why do you go out? Why do you go out? Well, I'm living the life. It gives me something to do. What else am I going to do on my weekends? Just sit in my dorm. And that's a fair point. No one wants to sit in a little, I commute. I live at home, but, like, I've been in many college dorms before, right? I'm with my buddy all the time at my college, and it's a tiny dorm. Don't get me wrong; it's very tiny. It would suck to be crammed in there for 2 weekends straight and not do anything. And I'm not saying don't do anything with your life, but why do you go out and get involved in those things? And I don't think going out is inherently wrong. I don't. I think if you go to the bar, if you're 21, if you go to the bar and if you have a drink, I don't think you're sinning. But that's not the point. The point is what's around you, right? What you're surrounded by, who you're with, the actions. There's a million other things too with this, right? I mean, it's as similar as saying is like, okay, if I have a girlfriend, or if it's reverse and you're a girl watching this and you have a boyfriend, right? And you are sleeping next to each other in the same bed, right? That is not inherently a sin. That's not a sin. But it can lead to temptation, right? Like, we know that. It's the same thing with a bar, like, or anywhere. It could be a party, at a house. It doesn't really matter where you're at. When you're in those kinds of environments, I don't think it's inherently a sin to exist in that environment. What I think can become a sin is the temptation leading to it, right? But I've been thinking about it, and it's a lot about purpose recently, and I was just walking around on campus, and this was really different for me. Because I'll be very vulnerable here. It doesn't hurt my feelings to be vulnerable here. But normally I would walk around campus and I've had a lot of, like, social anxiety of, like, okay, I'm walking right now. People are looking at me. Maybe people may be judging me. They might be staring at me. They might be looking at what I'm wearing right now. A million things that really don't matter. And probably A, no one's looking at. 2, doesn't matter. And 3, again, just who cares, right? Like, it's not that serious. And I know that, but, social anxiety, it's a thing. But I walked on campus today. And usually this is where it's the worst, right? Brand new, either first day of school or back from a big break. And I didn't have any of that today. Not at all. Nothing fazed me at all. It was actually a really good day. Like, in general, it was a good day. And, I was just kind of looking around, and I'm like, dude, like, I'm looking at hundreds of people, 20 to 30 people in my classes, hundreds of people walking around, when it's time to go to your next class or go to lunch or whatever it is. And I don't know, I just look around and I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of lost people right now, because I feel like some people view purpose as like, okay, I'm in college right now. I'm supposed to enjoy these few years of my life. I'm supposed to go out and have fun, That's what you're supposed to do, Just go out and live the life that, you're in right now. Party these 4 years and work hard later. And, I don't know. I get that. I understand it, right? I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Biggest things for me is, like, hearing the other side and understanding it. Doesn't mean I agree with it because I understand it. I understand it. I understand the reasoning. I just don't agree with it. And then I'll give you alternatives, of course, But, because partying, it kind of feels like living, but it actually doesn't build anything in your life at all. You just waste time, like hours upon hours every single night. I just thought it was interesting. But I feel like most people, when you ask them, like, why do you go out? They're like, oh, just, to have a good time, to get out. Such a lie. It's such a lie. And it's crazy. And I'm sure there are people in life that actually do go out because, it's just something to do for them. And I would get that. I understand. Very, very rare would you ever get that in college. But they say, well, my friends are going, so why not would I go? And then you start like asking them like what they do there, and then like the things that come along with it, right? So some of my friends will be like, well, I went out because I was bored, right? Whatever. And then X, Y, and Z happened, and I thought X, Y, and Z, so I did X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yeah, so much for just going out to have fun, right? Because it turned into a whole different thing, right? You go out just to have fun, but then you see a girl dressed in like the most craziest clothing. They like if their parents saw them, they would be furious with them. Like, like it's unreal. But don't worry, they're just there to have fun, just because their friends are there or something. And then, let's be honest, the real reason people go out, you hook up with people, you find someone new, to be seen. That's a big one, showing off your body. That's a big one. Or probably proving something to people who probably don't care, that's a big one. It's really ego-filled, in my opinion. And it's a whole room of people like, okay, think of Halloween. I want you to think of Halloween at your university, your college, whatever you want to call it, even your high school, bro. If you're in high school watching this and you go out to like these parties in high school, think of Halloween, okay? All right. And you go to the bar and you tell me if they're just to have a good time, all right? I feel very calm right now. I don't know why. Usually I'm a very more upbeat, right? Usually I'm a lot more into it. But I'm really calm. I don't know why. I don't know. I want to say it's the Holy Spirit, but I don't know. I'm just very, very, this is abnormally calm for me. So it's kind of like I feel like I'm explaining it all. And it's like arguing the fact that there's only two genders. It's so common sense. It's to me it is. I mean, I can understand why my friends would disagree with me in this case, but I feel like it's like arguing two genders. It's so obvious. I feel like there's no point to argue, but I mean, there is a point to argue, right? But, 4 years, right? Go party, go big, go hard, whatever you want to call it. Sleeping around with a lot of people, putting in a lot of things into your body that you shouldn't, probably really unhealthy for you. But, this is what your life is like for 4 years. But don't worry, on the side, you get your degree, you do the work, you do the homework, you do the tests, you do the quizzes, you do the midterms, you do the finals, and then back to summer, Goodness. And then I had my buddy over break, loved the guy to death. I won't say his name. We hung out, though, this last week, and very cool guy. I know he watches this, he watches my show or podcast, whatever you call it. So if you see this, I love you. And I'm not calling you out, but I'm just kind of saying this because I find it to be an issue, and I believe that there's more in store for not only this person in particular, but people who fall in these very footsteps as well. But he told me, he's like, I go out 5 days a week, and normally my friends, they only go out 3. Not that makes it any better. Or, no, maybe it is 4, honestly. I lied. So the 4 to 5, I guess it really doesn't matter. Usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Maybe it is 3, because people don't really go out on Sundays that I know of. I'm sure there are people who do. My normal friends, usually it is 3 days. I lied. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? And my buddy said he goes out 5 days a week. So he would go out, if I'm not mistaken, starting on Tuesday nights. So he would go out Tuesday, he'd go out Thursday, Friday. I'm sorry, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Tuesday to Saturday, he would go out. And he's like, and I'm like, tell me why. I want to know why. Why do you go out 5 days a week? After he already told me it's miserable. One of my best friends. I said, explain to me why. And he's like, okay, well, here's the reason why. Excuse me. He said Tuesdays I believe he says you get 10 drinks for $10 in the very beginning when the bar is open. And this is where he goes. I won't tell you his name or where he goes to school because I don't want to get into specifics, and then people find out who he is, and then he, or it really doesn't matter, right? The point is the message, and the message is that he said Tuesday, Tuesday nights, $10 for 10 drinks. And I told him, I said, I can see why you go out. I said, I see it. I don't agree with it, but I understand. And I said, I like that you're telling me this. I like hearing this. And he knows I don't drink. He knows I don't go out. He knows I live a completely different lifestyle than what he does. And I was very grateful that he was open to me about it because, like I said, I like understanding. I like hearing this other side of things like this. And he told me, he's like, yeah, so $10, 10 drinks to start, and then you just keep going. And he's like, you just keep drinking. And I said, don't get me wrong, I see why you go out. I mean, that's a good deal, I said, I don't even like alcohol. Like, I've tried it before. It's terrible. Like, there's not a single one that I really like. They're all horrible. Like, that's just me personally. I can't stand any of it. It's terrible. It hurts, whatever. I'm a baby, whatever it is that you guys can think of. I don't like it, I also don't like what comes with alcohol, but that's another story. That's another time. So I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, I see why you go out. I see that. But what about the other 4 days? Don't get me wrong. Like, these are school days. Like Tuesday to Thursday, and Friday. Yeah, Tuesday to Fridays. These are all school days, right? Like school nights, whatever you want to call it. Like, you have to be up early the next morning. And he's like, yeah. He's like, you wake up and you feel terrible. He's like, you have a horrible migraine. He's like, sometimes you throw up. It's terrible. And I'm like, okay, so then what encourages you to drink again that day? He's like, well, if you drink again and you keep going, the headache will go away and the feeling will go away. I'm right, but it comes back too. He's like, yeah, but if you keep drinking, it's like it keeps going away for a little bit. And I said, yeah, for a little bit. And then you wake up again, and then what? He's like, the same thing for like 3 more days. I'm like, what? Like, and I asked him, he's like, it's miserable. It is terrible. But in the moment, it is so fun. And that's when I got it. I'm like, okay, this makes sense now. In the moment, it's so fun. But every other time that you're sober and completely normal, it's terrible. And he said the worst days is when you have to go to class the next day, especially like from a weekend to a weekday. So I'm assuming he might go out too on Sunday sometimes too then. But he's like, when you wake up in the morning, Monday morning, early class, super hungover, terrible migraine, still goes to school, still goes to classes. And it's crazy. He's actually a phenomenal student. Like, he has fantastic grades. He made the dean's list last year, his freshman year. So, like, I mean, like, I'll congratulate you. Don't get me wrong. Like, doing all that and still getting phenomenal grades and getting on the dean's list, I mean, that's pretty solid, But it's like, why? And this is where we get down to the purpose of it. He literally said that it's a kind of a temporary thing. It's not a good feeling outside of the temporary pain, or not the temporary pain, or like the temporary fix of the pain. I'm like, have you ever just tried to like not drink? And I said that. I said, I have a challenge for you. And he truly thinks he doesn't have a drinking problem either. He's like, yeah, no, I don't have a drinking problem. He's like, I could stop if I want to. I said, okay, don't drink for a month. He's like, no, I don't want to. I'm like, well, I think you have a problem then. So I challenged him. I said, okay, listen, don't drink during the week. If I sit here and tell you don't drink, you're going to drink. So if we're going to do this right. We're going to do this the right way. I said, I don't want you to drink during the school week. Don't do that at all. I said, only go out on the weekends if you're going to go out. If you're going to do it, go out on the weekends. Don't do it at all, but I know you're going to anyway, right? I know he's not going to listen to me. But I'm like, just do it Friday and Saturday. And he's like, well, I can't. And I said, why? He's like, and that's when he brought up the Tuesday $10 drinks, the $10 for 10 drinks. I'm like, okay. I said, then only go out Tuesday and then pick one day on the weekend. And I don't really remember where the rest of the conversation went. But all I know is that he's not going to follow any of that. It's Monday. I'm sure he went out tonight probably. I'm sure. I mean, it's crazy to me. So, you don't feel it right away. You definitely feel it later. You feel it when you're behind. You feel it when you're tired. You feel it when you're stuck. And I'm not saying, don't ever go out. Well, maybe I am. I don't really know. When I say go out, I mean like to the bars, to the parties, in the environments you could possibly be in a wrong scenario with, if that makes sense. That's what I'm against. Now, just because you go out, I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think you're a terrible person. I don't think that you are anything less than me or more of me. I know people can think of like, oh, well, you think you're better than them. Not at all. Not at all. I'm a sinner just like everyone else in this world, and I need Jesus just as much as everyone else does in this world. But I do believe in the truth, and I do believe that there is a right, and I do believe there's a wrong, and I choose to stand for the truth and the right. And so if me saying something offensive on this podcast or show, whatever you want to call it, hurts your feelings, I don't care. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care. Because I do believe that there is a moral truth, and a moral truth that needs backing. And I'm very firm in that. And this is a very, very big thing for kids, for students in college, particularly. And, but you do this for 4 years, and then what do you do when you're done? I'm a junior right now. A lot of my friends are seniors. A lot of my friends are sophomores. And some even freshmen actually as well. I actually have a few younger friends as well that I know of from high school. They're actually seniors getting ready to go into college. And I've talked to them too about these kinds of things. And the biggest thing, and I'll leave off with this. I know it's getting a little later. And I don't know, I know I said this wouldn't be very long. It's probably about 25 to 30 minutes already, but once this 4 years is over, it's not going to mean anything. The partying, the drinking, it's not really going to mean anything. To an extent, it will mean something to where it's shaping your character for sure. It's going to matter in that particular case. But of what have actually happened, what people will remember, give it 4 years after you graduate, no one's going to remember anything. Nothing. It's going to go away. You might have a few close memories that you remember to tell your kids when you have kids and get married. But that's really much it. I mean, that's it. Nothing else in particular that you'd remember that stays with you, that sticks with you. And I think about it and I'm like, you don't have to be this like superstar person, famous person, celebrity in college to make a difference in the world. You really don't. You can do something really productive with your life, and that's what you're called to do as a Christian. And if you don't think you can, well, I think you're really short-guessing yourself, especially being in school or at this young adult stage that most of us are in life. I think you're really short-guessing yourself. I mean, you can look at my channel right now, right? I have just less than 2,000 subscribers. I think my average views is like anywhere from the 50 to 100 views realm. Like it's not, like I'm not sitting here talking to 3 million people, and I still think I'm making some sort of an impact. Your impact on the world doesn't have to be to a wide, big audience. It can be to one person, right? It could be to 3 people. It could be to 10 people, but it can also be to one. And sometimes it can also just be yourself sometimes, But I think that there's more to life, and I can't speak for everyone. I don't. I know the ways I can go to help make the world a better place, to help advance the kingdom of Christ, but I can't tell you exactly what to do because, well, I don't know you specifically just by talking in a broad general standpoint, right? If I was talking to you individually, it'd be a little bit different, but in this case, I can't give you a direct thing. But what I can do is I can help you shift your attention away from this lifestyle. And this will only work if you want it to. If you don't want to change your habits or your addictions even, if you just think that there's maybe just a little bit more to the world than what you're doing right now in college and you want to see it, well, then I would recommend that, you kind of listen to this advice I have and try to apply it to your daily life. I have a few challenges for you guys. So, first off, if you're going out a lot, I want you to shrink that number by half. Half. It's a lot. half. So if you're going out 5 days a week, technically 2.5, you can't really go out for a half a day. I mean, maybe you can. I'm sure you can. But let's just say 2, right? Or if it's really that hard, do 3, right? You go out 5 days a week, go for 3. If you go out 4 days a week, go 2, right? If you go out 2 days a week, only go 1. Now, with those other days that you now have free and you don't know what to do, right? You're going to be tempted to go out. Your friends are going to question you, and they're going to be like, well, why aren't you going out? Like, you're really taking this thing, like, seriously? Like, you're not going to go out? You're not going to smoke a cigarette? You're not going to drink tonight? Like, come on. You don't even have to get drunk. Just have a drink. That's funny. Yeah. You don't want to hang around your friends or your buddies. So what do you fill those days with? And I'm going to be honest with you. It's easier than you think, right? I'm not saying to sit in your room and study and read a book. You don't have to do that, all right? Find something you enjoy to do. One of the biggest things that I've recently found that I love to do, and this actually, it kind of helps with my future career, but I go to the shooting range all the time. Now, that's an expensive hobby. Ammo's a lot of money. If you have a gun, the gun maintenance can be a little bit of money. Terrible grammar or grammar speaking, whatever it is. But like, it's an expensive hobby, man. Ammo's a lot of money. Some of the ranges that you can go to, it can be a lot of money. You have to do a lot of maintenance, clean your gun, stuff like that. But I love to do that. And I would choose going to the shooting range over any house party in the world. Any of them. So that's just me personally. But I want you to find something new. I do. I want you to find something new to do with your life. I want you to find something new that you haven't really done before. Or maybe you're just not really too familiar with, You're not comfortable with it completely. I don't know what that could be for you. Maybe it's just going outside for a little bit, depending on where you're at. I know it's a little cold. I mean, you're going to walk to that house in 15-degree weather, whether you're going to the house or not, you're going to walk out there anyway. So, I don't know, if you have access to a car on your campus, go get in your car and go somewhere quiet. Just kind of reflect. It sounds stupid. It sounds so stupid, actually. Like, I'll be honest, like, it sounds terrible. But I'll be honest with you, I've been reflecting a lot myself recently, and it's been really, really helpful. I don't know what that really entails for you. It could be just playing on your PS5 or your Xbox on campus at night. It could be reading a book. Odds are probably not. Reading a book is terrible, in my opinion, unless it's the Bible. That's another good thing you can do. Start somewhere in the Bible that you've never really read before. Read 2 chapters. That's my challenge for you this week. I want you to read 2 chapters, no matter what. Read 2 chapters anywhere. And it could be 2 different books, 2 different chapters. Start in the beginning to where it makes sense. Don't go to like Job and read chapter 39, for no reason. Like it would make no sense. But, if you want somewhere to start, I'd go to Matthew. Matthew is perfect. Perfect. But just find something new. Find something new to do. Divide. I don't want to say conquer. Divide and just find something new. But that's really all I have to say. And I know it, like I said, this week was a little bit different, but I really felt that was important to say. I really wanted it to just kind of help someone this week. Whether, that be one person or 10 people or 30 people or 100 people, it doesn't really matter. As long as it helps one, I know I did my job. So, but don't let the fear of not knowing what you could do or not knowing what's going to happen next, don't let that run your life and just think that the automatic default is, all right, well, nothing to do, got to go out, and be involved in those kinds of areas. So that's my message for this week as we go back. If you really want to discover purpose in life, you're not going to find it in a bar. You're not going to find it at a house party. You're not going to find it by smoking a cigarette or drinking beer or vaping or I don't even want to know what else that goes on, hooking up, whatever you want to call it, right? You're never going to find your purpose in an environment of drinking, of smoking, or hookups. It's never going to happen. It never will. No matter how much you want it to happen, it will never happen. The only true, real purpose for life is Christ, reading your Bible and finding truth that way, not through temporary fixes of pain. Unfortunately, our generation really believes in that, but unfortunately, that's not how it really works in life. So that's the biggest thing that I could give you this week. And, I hope you guys take it to heart. And like I said, sometimes it might sound silly, but if you just take it seriously one time, you might actually feel something new, do something new, and it might actually change your life. So you never really know until you give it a try. That's my message for you. It's 11:07. I only have one class tomorrow. That's pretty sick. And it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm chilling. So I'm getting ready to wrap up, though. I'm going to go to bed here in a little bit. But you guys have a great rest of your week. Be safe. Enjoy these next few months of school. And, be safe and find something new to do this week. God bless you guys.